Well, hello, noble citizens of the Imperium and also the Cat Empire, which is maybe Imperium adjacent, and maybe we sneak around in your gutters going, "Hey, you got any cheese for me?" And then you'll say something like, "But cheese, isn't that what rats eat?" And then I'll be like, "No, we're cats, see?" Yeah. You have to get it right, you know? If you don't get it right, then, we'll have to attack you in spite. It's a simple fact of the matter, really. I mean, I don't want to go crazy on you, but I will. I will indubitably go crazy on you. Oh wait, I saw a cool trick to get to the first secret. I mean, it's not really that much of a trick, but still, I thought it was cool, so I'm gonna whoosh-ha! See, and then you landed on top of the statue man. Because then you can go up here, run. Very cool. Man, I gotta tell you, right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of painting some Space Marines at the same time that I'm playing this bolt gun game, as the bolt gun game is a good motivation to paint cool Space Marines, and it's been pretty cool. And I've been enjoying painting my Rift Drakes. I'm trying to get the scheme down right, because I have it very vividly and beautifully in my head what I want the Rift Drakes to look like. Right? Excuse me. But, like, getting the exact paint scheme I want onto my boys is turning out to be slightly more... Okay, so wait. There it is. I always like getting the machine spirit on either my shotgun or my bolt gun, because these are the two that I like using the most. Munitions boom. Excellent. Dad gives me ammo. Oh wait, no, I got the red key, not the purple key. There we go, over here. And I'm trying to get because I've kind of gone back and forth from like the idea of like a light blue to instead being more like, okay, I kind of want more of like a teal, like a little bit more greenish. And I've kind of gone back and forth between those two. But you see, the main thing is that I didn't want the one... I mean, okay, I like the light blue, but when the one time I painted a Marine in that color scheme, I showed it to my friend, and she said, "Oh, hey, look, it's an Ultramarine." And I'm like, it's not. He's not an Ultramarine. He's a Whiffed Drake. Very different. It's a special boy, because he's my boy. Which he is. I mean, yeah, all my little Marines are special to me. I love each of them. I'm going to name each and every individual Marine. I think the guy I'm painting right now, I keep wanting to name... he's going to be named Hamza, actually. The guy who I'm basically doing a test scheme on, and I'm doing the test scheme with the contrast paint. So I got Eldari Emerald and Black Templar Black Contrast. Those are the two that I'm kind of working with the most here. And part of the reason I'm working with them is because I go back on for... Well, I like... How much damage did that do? It didn't do as much as I expected. Here. Thank you. I gotta pick up some more grenades. Yeah, like that. Oh, I should have used one of my, Ooh. But I wanted to see if the contrast paints would work well for the color scheme I was trying to go for. or if I'm gonna need to do some other things. And I might need to do some other things. I don't know, because the Eldari Emerald is like the base for the armor. Like that's like the main color for the that I'm using for the armor right now. And I'm thinking that it looks pretty good, but maybe just a little too dark. Because I want something a little bit brighter, you know, something that catches the eye. Oh my goodness. I should have been more careful there. Something that catches the eye where you're like, ooh, that's a fancy space marine. And I'd be like, darn tootin' lady. Lady boy from Thailand. It is, in fact, a darn tootin' space marine from the Space Marine patch. I grew him myself. Oh, hey. You know what I mean? And, like, it's kind of funny. So I have kind of, like, somewhat of an idea. I have a somewhat established idea for what I want to do, what I want my Chaos Space Marines to be. Like, I want them to be like these weirdo philosophers who like to mess around with the warp. Basically, like their leader is immortal and has realized that it's kind of fun to just like mess around and not take the whole setting of Warhammer so seriously. But the Rift Drakes, I have like a backstory for. I have like their home system worked out. I have like a lot of their various characters written out. I put a lot of time and effort into them, and you know, just because it's really fun. You start building your own custom Space Marine chapter, and next thing you know, you're just like, oh well, I want to tell the story of these guys. Why are these guys the way they are? Why are, and you know, like in some cases, it's like, okay, why are they different from other Space Marine chapters? Or oh, where are they actually very similar to another chapter? Do they diverge on purpose, or is it, you know, just like an accident of where they're located? And things like that. Or like, you know, in some cases it's like how wildly different they are to like the other Marines around them. Huh. I feel like I may have missed a secret. Wait. Uno momento. I have a guide. There's the vortex grenade and I want it. Okay, so wait, no. Oh, so it's after the key. Oh, yeah, he's reading the book. He's checking for me too. Thanks, bud. Let's open this. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okie dokie. That's good to know. That means that I can use the vortex grenade now if I wish to. Because, you know, you can't hold two vortex grenades, so sometimes it's just like, hey, gotta use the thing. No, but I don't really. It's just a bunch of nerdlings. There's no reason to send these guys back to the warp. I mean, they're kind of gross, but not like. I mean, I'm gonna purge them, right? But like, not like hatefully purging them. It's more like, oh, you're just like a mild irritant. Which, I mean, I would prefer it if you weren't an irritant. But you know. Oh, hey. You know. Oh, man. Yeah, no, you get really into like creating your own custom chapter or your own custom warband or anything like that. And I gotta say, that's like one of my favorite things about the Warhammer miniatures hobby is that you get to write your own stories. I think that's part of the reason that Warhammer in particular has stuck with me so much versus a lot of other hobby things I've had. Like, for instance, I'm really into the Aliens universe. The Aliens universe is really neat, and I especially like it when you mix it with Aliens versus Predator for like some of the games. I played those a lot when I was a younger cat, and those things were very enjoyable to me. Okay, so it at least tells me the secret's discovered, so I can use the vortex grenade, then come back and use this one. I think I remember where the next one is, but you know what? Since we're here, I'm just gonna... Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's where that one is. And then the Aura of Doom and the last one. Okay. I think after this next one, the other two are easy to remember, but this one was a little hard. For some reason. But yeah, I mean, like, you get to create your own groups, and I think that's always fun. You get to tell stories with your characters, like, on the tabletop and things like that. Like, you know, Brother Hamza here could, like, actually go out and get, like, a kill. He could have an epic moment where he, you know, manages to maybe kill, like, a big important heretic, or like a, you know, maybe he manages to score the winning shot against a Carnifex or something like that. You know, it's just all kinds of little cool things. Or maybe he manages to beat a traitor warlord. There are all kinds of fun little things that you can do. And, you know, with the tabletop stuff, you can have some pretty random moments. Or, you know, some moments that are truly epic style, as the kids might say. There was one moment that was pretty interesting to me recently, where I was playing a game, and I managed to have a chosen, and well, have an exalted champion fight and beat Saint Celestine in combat. Well, it was a little bit more of a tie, because what ended up happening was we were in a round of close combat. Saint Celestine had 1 wound left, and he still had full wounds, and there were still 5 chosen with him? Yeah, 5 chosen. So it seemed like, at least in close combat, you know, they were probably going to be the victors there. Is it impossible that Saint Celestine would pull ahead? Oh, certainly not. It's certainly not impossible for the glorious Saint Celestine, because she's really cool and good and stuff, for her to pull forward and, you know, really sock it to him, as you would. And, you know, that's some of the great stuff about, like, playing on the tabletop, is that sometimes you get to experience these fun little crazy moments that, like, because if I before this said, oh man, this exalted champion has actually killed, you know, Saint Celestine before, it's like, that would be ridiculous to say. But now I can say, hey, you know, he was on the tabletop and he had just about killed Saint Celestine. And I mean, I think even just about killing Saint Celestine is probably pretty brag-worthy for a random Chaos champion, you know? And it's like, now that guy gets to be a cool guy. He gets to have his own little story, and you know, we can write about how he, oh my goodness. Oh, here, I should probably just do this. About how he got to purge the enemy. Or, well, he didn't purge the enemy. He was, you know, fighting, and he got a really cool kill. That's that's a nice thing for, and he was an aspiring champion of Tzeentch, so it's not even like he was, I mean, I think if he was an aspiring champion of Khorne, he probably would have definitely, they probably would have definitely killed her. But, you know, I like Tzeentch more than Khorne. I've never been big on Khorne. I mean, I've occasionally played with the Khorne Demon Princes, but they're just not as much of my thing as, like Tzeentch or Slaanesh. I always think Slaanesh is kind of interesting because, you know, like, it's kind of fun. Warhammer, for being a setting that is so extreme, seems like it's honestly, like, scared of sensual anything to a certain degree. But that's kind of, like, similar to, like, Star Wars, where it's, like, sexuality plays a part in Star Wars, but they almost seem like they're, like, kind of, like, afraid of it. And I know that might sound weird coming from me, the cat who was talking about how it was weird that in Neuromancer, the lady just fucked the random guy. Or, well, fuck the character. And I mean, because I'm not like sex negative, it's just like, sometimes it's weird. Like, it's written badly in certain contexts, and you're just like, well, why did they do that? Why did the characters do this thing? Like, sometimes characters in a story will do things that you just pause and go, from everything we know about the character, why on earth would they behave in this particular manner at this particular time? I mean, and sometimes it's just like, okay, they're doing that because the author decided that would make a more interesting story, which, you know, that's fine, but it's not like the best when oh my goodness, so close. Well, that's safe. Okay, but you know, it's not necessarily always the best when, like, characters act in a way that just doesn't seem to make much sense. Like, a little bit of sexuality can be very cool and intriguing, and can really add a lot of depth to the characters and their motivation, because it's like, oh, these people are, you know, they're people, they have desires and emotions and feelings, and it's like, oh, you know, maybe like one of these characters, she's just kind of out to do her own thing. Like, she's like, you know, she wants to just have a bit of fun. She doesn't want anything serious, but, you know, she slept with this guy, and now, like, he definitely wants something serious. And, like, you know, it's not even that she doesn't like him, it's just that, you know, like, for the time being, like, the circumstances make it kind of weird for her. And, you know, you can do, like, little things like that, and it can make it really interesting. Or just, like, you know, like, the weird ways that, like, barriers break down a bit during, like, warfare or something like that. Like, maybe, like, two Imperial citizens, one who's pretty high up and one who's pretty low down, end up discovering that they actually like each other quite a lot when they're, like, end up fighting together after, like, a chaos invade their planet or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think Tzeentch and Slaanesh are the two that I find the most interesting. Nurgle is, I don't know, Nurgle's kind of boring. I mean, like, Nurgle, I think, could be more interesting, and sometimes I've seen people do interesting stuff with Nurgle, but it often seems like Nurgle is just kind of, eh. It's just like, oh yeah, and then the big gross guy does his gross guy things. Cool. I'm glad the Grossman can do his Grossman things. I mean, and once again, hey man, if Nurgle's your favorite and you're just really into Nurgle and Nurgly type things, I get it. And you know what? Great. I am glad that you have a weird, spooky chaos god that satisfies your desire for big, weird mutants and toad monsters and things like that. Why not? I, on occasion, and also enjoy big, horrible toad creatures. Toad creatures are great, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with Nurgle. It's just, like, not, like, my favorite. I kind of want to get, you know, now that I'm getting a little bit back into painting, I kind of want to get some more Plague Marines and stuff like that. I would just like to get, like, just a group of 7 of them, just to paint. I just think they're kind of cool. Like, just a box. I don't really play the tabletop in person. I pretty much play it... Oh, I almost completely forgot about this. I almost play it entirely on tabletop sim these days. So the miniatures I have are just for, like, painting and, you know, having a nice little collection, and I get to name them and talk about them, and they're my little friends. And, you know, I get to have them praise Makali, as you do, and it's glorious. And I think having just, like, yeah, just like a small... Oh my goodness. Just like a small amount of, Plague Marines just to have painted and stuff like that, I think would be... Gosh dang it. I was getting pretty close there. You know, I should probably just use the Vortex Grenade, because I keep not using it. Oh, at the same time, it's not really anything too terribly big to use. Exterminatus is fun because it has the right amount of difficulty where, like, I'm actually dying and occasionally I have to try hard. Actually, I think when I played this on medium, I died in this area as well. So that's kind of neat. And also this time I am going to remember that there's a Kraken Bolt. Or no, I think that's the Dragon Fire. It's one of those two. Ooh, jeez. Go down here. Cool. Now let's kill a few hermetics. No, there's a big toad. Let's go see if we can kill the big toad. The big toad's kind of... Where's the large lad? But yeah, like, I was considering getting a couple of Plague Boys to paint. I wanted to get some pretty demonettes that I could paint with pretty colors. My friend actually made a suggestion of, like, putting some body paint on them, and I thought that would be kind of cool. Yeah, that's gonna kill that plague toad. But yeah, I think Corn is one that I kind of enjoy in some aspects, but I think a lot of his demons and stuff just look silly, and I don't even really understand why you'd want to worship. You get to fight as any of them, and I guess, like, Corn makes the fighting better, but it just seems so, like, one note, so very bland to just be like, well, what do you like to do? Oh, I like to fight. Oh, okay. And I mean, I think they've done a good job with at least some of the characters, or at least a little bit more interesting about it. Like, for instance, the Blood Raven librarian who betrays peoples in Dawn of War. Oh my goodness. I'm having a harder time here. Dawn of War 2. I'm pretty sure it ends up being a corn dude. And he betrays. And part of the reason he's betraying them is like to make like the Blood Ravens like a sacrifice to corn. And it's like partially just like a freedom thing where it's like, you know, like, look, if you made me this horrible abomination of like just a war creature, you send me on war after war after war in this pointless never-ending crusade, and I don't even really get to enjoy it. At least with like corn, I actually get to enjoy. That makes a little bit of sense, and that's kind of an interesting character motivation. Just like, he's not, I mean, yes, he's after power, but he's also just like, why am I, like, he's just kind of like one of the things that explores the whole idea of like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because like, with a lot of that kind of stuff, it's like, as a Space Marine, I mean, you know, you kind of only got so many options for what to do, really, unless you happen to be one of the lucky ones. In one of the chapters where you can do something other than be stoic and honorable, which is, look, man, I mean, I get it. Being stoic is kind of cool, and there's definitely cool things about being stoic, but like, yeah, they just don't always make the most interesting characters. Well, at least I say that. I've met a decent number of people who seem to quite enjoy like a lot of these chapters that I think are really boring because they just do nothing but like, hello, what's your deal? Oh, my deal is that I'm a generic stoic badass. Oh, okay. What's your deal? Same. And then it's just, and I'm just imagining it going around the room and just like 15 Space Marines all going same. And then occasionally you get to be like a little wild. And I think one of the things that's kind of interesting to me at least with some of the time with stuff like with Renegade Space Marines, it seems like they're much more willing to write them as having individual motivations and character, and, you know, like, kind of contemplating their plight in the galaxy, and kind of being at least, like, a little self-aware. For instance, like, a lot of Space Marines, when you just listen, if you just like read their dialogue and from the books, it's like, man, you were like about as smart as a as a box of rocks, man. You're actually incredibly dumb. Like the thing that keeps happening that I find interesting is that they're always written to be like these characters that are like, and he was so brilliant because he was an Astartes. It's like, okay, cool. But then like you see like the way they choose to represent that, and it, like a lot of times it's just like, oh wow, finally. So like a lot of times the way they choose to represent that is just like, oh, this dude I got distracted because I won and I couldn't remember what was I saying? Oh yeah. Like the way they choose to like show that these like Astartes or whatever are cool is almost always just like the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Stop! There, good. It's like that they all have like these very similar patterns of behavior and things like that. Or they'll write about how they're like brilliant, but then like you kind of analyze what they're actually doing and you're like, okay, so they keep saying that you're brilliant and like way smarter than any mortal. In this case, that just means any unaugmented human. And they're like, yes. And it's like, but if I analyze your actions for 2 seconds, they don't make any sense. And they're just kind of almost zany sometimes. It's really weird. Or like they all kind of seem the same. Like there are good Space Marine books, and I'm not trying to say that every Space Marine book is like bad or anything like that. It's just loyalist ones anyway. I'm not trying to say that. I think there's some really good ones. Like I really like Spears of the Emperor. That's a really good loyalist book. But once again, that kind of like goes outside of the bounds of like the normal stuff. They get to be a little bit more characterful and kind of poke holes or poke at the Imperium a little bit at the same time that, you know, they're like, okay, look, we're saving this and we're saving the people here, not because they treat us well or because the Imperium is the greatest thing ever. We're doing it because this is the right thing to do, and like, you know, stuff like that. And you can get into more interesting character dynamics and stuff like that. And I find that a lot of the chapters that are kind of on the periphery are much more interesting in that, like, they can be vulnerable, for instance. Like, they're, like, not super vulnerable in combat, but maybe they see, like, part of the problem with being the way they are is that people don't trust them, or people think, you know, because the Imperium is the way it is, they're like always like looking for an excuse to like get rid of them, or they're always looking for an excuse to test their loyalty. It's like, how many more times do you have to prove you're loyal before someone will accept you? You can do interesting things with Space Marines, I think, and it's just that a lot of the stories, like, sometimes I read them, it's just like, and then Gilliman was the most smart, and he had a big penis. It's like, I'm glad that Gilliman has a huge cock. It's terrific, really. But could you do anything, I don't know, more interesting? But then I also understand that there's a lot of people who just like it when it's just, you know, they're stoic and honor, glory and honor, glory and honor, glory. No. What is it? The Ultramarines say, courage and honor, courage and honor, courage and honor, courage and honor. I understand that, but like, you know, it's just not always the most interesting stuff to me. It's part of the reason I like reading about the traders more. But then I just say, hey, I want to take a loyalist legion and just make a loyalist chapter and just make them a little bit more tradery and use some of those more interesting elements. And that's why I greatly enjoy painting my own boys, because I can do that. I can write my own little stories in my head, and you know, if I don't want to share those stories, I can write them entirely for myself. Okay, just another purge. I don't know if I want to grab the Aura of Doom immediately. Are there big enemies here? Right now it just seems like we have a lot of cultists. You know, that I'm trying to demean cultists. I mean, in my Chaos Space Marine armies, I like to bring a decent number of cultists just because I think it's fun to give them Mark of Tzeentch and then just give them a ton of guns so that they can just try to farm for lethal hits in 10th edition. That's kind of fun. And hey, sometimes that's worked out really well. They've managed to kill units that were much bigger than them, but of course they're also very fragile, so if the other unit manages to get to them first, they tend to lose a lot of guys, which is why you gotta go for the big 20-man units being led by the Dark Commune. At least that's what I like to do. And, you know, I'm not gonna tell you that's the most efficient way to do things, because it certainly isn't. But, it is a way that I have a lot of fun doing things. Okay, I'm gonna take this out now. Hello. Come, face me. I am a cool guy. Here to kill your demoniness with my cool guy powers. You like that? That. Yeah, but you know, that's like some of the stuff I enjoy a lot. And I am willing to explore some of the other, like Slaanesh and Tzeentch are the two that I like the most, but that doesn't mean I'm not willing to explore the other two and not willing to use them at all. I mean, if I liked the Jackals or like the World Eaters more, I definitely would have grabbed some, but I personally find them... That was not good. So I ran right into my own grenade, and then... There was a health kit. Somewhere. Wasn't there? I thought... Maybe I picked it up already. Oh well, I might have what we in the industry call a slight problem. It does get a little bit hard on Exterminatus sometimes. Yeah. Oh well. I am like a vacuum. Oh gosh, dang you. Oh, terminated, that's silly. Are they shooting each other? What the heck is he saying? It sounded like he was saying Auga. But, you know, it's also why, like, I feel like a lot of the Praetor Primarchs have, like, a little bit more, like, pathos and are a little bit more interesting to read. Well, some of them. Some of them are just shitheads where you're just like, why are you such a dick? Why are you such a dick? And then when you figure out what it is, it's like, oh, poor writing. Okay, yeah, understandable. Gotcha. And I'm not saying it's always poor writing, but sometimes it kind of just is like, and you're just a dickhead because my mommy did not love me enough. And then other times it's like, I got my brain mutilated by weird science. Angron, in that case, Angron. Brain mutilation. Angron angry, but Angron want poetry slam. You know, like you can, and then it's not like there's not interesting things going on with the loyalists, and it's not like interesting is always the best, because like Conrad Kurz is interesting in a way. Man, I don't want to read about him because he's just the horrible monster man. Why would I read about another horrible monster man? I'd prefer it if you didn't read about the horrible monster man. It's like, oh, buddy, he's just so angry, doing your thing, huh? Oh yeah, I can remember when I did my thing. I can remember when the Empress said no to me, but you know, that was a long time ago, and I told the Emperor what for. I don't know why that's the voice I decided to use. I don't know. That was definitely a Primarch, but what one was that? Oh, that was Corax. Why did Corax have that voice in my head? That's interesting. See, that's how you make Corax more interesting. Make him an older retired lady. Make Korax an old retired lady. This is my new revision for the Horus Heresy. Secretly, it was all about old retired women all along. I do also find it interesting when, like, one of my favorite things to do when I was writing about my Rift Drakes is just, like, write about them, like, exploiting, like, imperial bureaucracy to get, like, around it and stuff like that. Just because that's, like, the most interesting stuff to me. Just because the imperial bureaucracy is so backward and bad that if you were smart and knew how to exploit it, you could just get like a ton of extra stuff from them. You know, like just cuts, or like you could use that to your advantage if you were trying to keep secrets, like just like write off certain losses or like your Space Marine chapter or whatever when you don't actually have those losses, or like when those losses are kind of like minimum or something like that, and then be like, oh no, we lost a ton of dudes, and just like be like wink wink. There we go. And then just be like wink wink, nudge nudge, we need more gene seed, and wink wink, nudge nudge, wink wink wink, nudge nudge, wink wink, nudge nudge, wink. And you know, that's always kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. Exit within range, caution, concern, no concern. I did all the things and I only died 4 times. I feel like doing that all over again because I want to do better, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening to me babble and ramble about painting random boys and making your own Space Marine chapters and all that fun stuff. And I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day and know that I love you and God loves you and the Emperor loves you and maybe Zinch loves you too. You know, he likes to add some little surprises in there. Neato. All right. Bye. I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye. I love you. Bye.